Hi and welcome back to the Worry Mill. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Petite Knit Sophie series. You probably know the Sophie Scarf. You might or you might not, but this is a wee neckerchief. My daughter is in the middle of knitting it, so we're kind of past halfway. It is knitted in the Cos from Sandnes Garn in a discontinued colour, I'm afraid. But it's she's coming on very well. She's not knitted for very long, so she's doing really well. So again, this is great for beginners. But let's get back to, so you have the Sophie Scarf and then you have the Sophie Shawl. The Sophie Shawl is just really a bigger version of the Sophie Scarf. So I would probably more call this a scarf because for me that's really what it is. A shawl for me would be much, much bigger. But again, she had to call them different things. So don't, we're not going to get hung up on that. But yeah, this one here is knitted in the Rowan Kit Classic, which is an Aran weight yarn. It has mohair in it, so it's quite nice and fluffy, and I really love this yarn, and a lot of people have knitted the shawl in that yarn, and the scarf for that matter as well. So another version of the Sophie shawl is this one here. It's a bright pink fine tweed haze. It's called From Rowan. I have a ball of it here, and for this one I actually just used two. It's a double knitting yarn, so I changed my needle size when I was knitting this one, and then I decided I was just going to use two balls, but we can talk about that in a wee minute. But the last one that she's just released is the hood. I haven't had a chance to knit this one up yet. These two are for beginners, the shawl and the scarf. However, this one is for more intermediate. There's a little bit more shaping and stuff involved in the hood. But if you've knitted quite a few of the shawls and the scarves, I'm sure you'll be able to master this one. So let's talk about the Sophie Scarf and yarn choices. You can pretty much knit it with any yarn. So if you have a leftover ball of yarn at home, go for it. If you're not using a double knitting, as she's suggesting, you can adjust the needle sizes accordingly. So if you're using an Aran weight yarn, use a 4.5mm needle. If you're using a 4-ply yarn, use like a 3 or a 275 or something definitely smaller than a 3.5. But let's just talk about the ones I know that we love here in the shop. I have a customer, Karen, who's knitted I don't know how many Sophie Scarfs. She seems to want them in every single colour, and she's very much a fan of the pure DK. She claims that this yarn here, which is the Falkland Island wool, is as soft as cashmere, and she does actually have a Sophie Scarf in pure cashmere, so I think she knows what she's talking about. So if you're knitting the Sophie Scarf in the pure West Yorkshire Spinners pure DK, to do the small Sophie Scarf you need just one ball. If you want the bigger Sophie Scarf, you need two balls. But you can also read the yarn tip that is in the pattern, so you can use up, if you're buying two balls, you can use up almost every scrap of yarn that's in those two balls. You just need a set of kitchen scales really for doing that. Another lovely yarn, well, I did kind of mention it before, but this Rowan Kit Classic is excellent for the Sophie Scarf. Again, one ball will do a scarf, and again I actually recommend you using the yarn tip, so you can use, almost to the end here. Just stop, so you weigh, to do that actually, I'm just going to explain it to you. You weigh your yarn, to take away the label here and weigh your yarn, and if that weighs exactly 50 grams as it says on the ball band, you knit until you have about 26 grams left, and then you start, so well, when I say knit, you increase. So there's two parts to the Sophie Scarf. There's an increase part and there's a decrease part. And you increase until you have about 26 grams left if you have 50 grams bang on. Then when you hit the 26 grams, you start your decreasing part. And that will make sure that you don't run out of wool, because you really don't want to kind of get to almost the tip and realise you need another ball of wool. So either you have two options here. You can pull it back, start the decreasing sooner, or you can buy another ball of wool. So a wee tip when knitting the Sophie Scarf or the shawl or the hood is to place a marker over in the side where you're not making your increases. In that way you can then remind yourself that it's always going to be over in the other side that you're doing the increases. I find that a lot of beginners get a little bit lost, they lose track of how many rows they've done. So if you at least have a marker over in one side here that you know this is where I'm not increasing, and see if you're increasing or decreasing every 8th row in the Sophie Scarf. And if you miss an increase or if you do one too early, it's not going to make a huge difference. So yeah, the Kit Classic is really good. We just got a new colour in as well, chocolate. That was actually one of our customers who requested this colour. So obviously we just comply and order in for them. So this one is lovely. Another one that I have seen, well, my daughter was knitting in the Sandnes Garn Cos. There's 150 metres on a ball of 50 grams. So again, you can get a Sophie Scarf of just one ball of this. This is an iron weight yarn. So is this. So knit your Sophie Scarf on 4.5 or 5mm needles. Don't go for the 3.5. It really makes it maybe a little bit too dense. Another one that's like the Cos is the softest alpaca moded rowan. That also does a really lovely Sophie Scarf. Again, one ball should be enough to do your scarf. Other ones I have seen, again, the Rowan Fine Tweed Haze, the Rowan Baby Cash Off Merino. One ball is enough of this as well. And also the West Yorkshire Spinners Fable. That is very like the Kit Classic. It's a little bit heavier and a little bit thicker than the Kit Classic, but it's equally as nice. There's mohair. This one here has Falkland Island wool, alpaca and mohair in it, so really lovely. Actually, the jumper I'm wearing is also knitted in this Fable, and it's so nice and soft, and it's also really, really warm. Another really lovely option is to go for the knitting for olive merino and mohair combined. So this is a lovely lavender blue. That will make a gorgeous Sophie Scarf together. If you're not into mohair, you can actually just knit with just the merino. This is a 4-ply, so go down in size of needles. Or if you would prefer a double knit, you can actually double this one up. So you can start the ball from the outside as well as try and find the inside end of the yarn. Or you could just spin it into 2 balls with the same amount of grams on it. Again, we have that one in a lovely red colour as well. I have also seen, so Karen, who is a fan of this one, has also knitted a couple of them just in the mohair itself. So one strand she's been using, but she's also doubled it up. So and that works equally. It just gets a little bit denser if you double it up. Again, if you are using mohair for any of these scarves, you could choose a different colour. So you could really, maybe this one is a bit too much, but a red and a lavender blue. But technically you can mix these ones up and it creates like a colour that sits almost in between those two. So it's more kind of common that you maybe select a blue and add a bit of mohair to that. And that will give you something just slightly kind of in between colour wise. So that was the Sophie Scarf. So the Sophie Shawl is this one here. The Sophie Scarf, Petite Knit was using double knitting. The Sophie Shawl, she's using an iron weight yarn. But again, you can actually use more or less kind of any yarn. So again, all the ones I showed you for the scarf can pretty much be used for this. I probably wouldn't do the shawl in a 4-ply. I would do a double knit. This is a double knit, so that would not go below a double knit personally. So the latest addition to the Sophie series is the Sophie Hood. This one is knitted in an iron weight yarn, and as I said before, you can knit the shawl and the scarf in any yarn really. The hood is a different matter. Because you have this length of the hood that's meant to kind of reach on top of your head, you need to make sure that you get that length. So if you went down to a double knitting yarn, that length would be shorter and you wouldn't actually really get the hood over your head. It would also be narrower at the side. So for that reason, I would not really do this in less than an Aran weight yarn. So the ones I would personally prefer is the Kit Classic, the West Yorkshire Spinners Fable, and the Cos, or this one here, which is softest alpaca. Some of my customers had knitted in the softest alpaca and they're looking really good. So again, Cos and softest alpaca, they will look equal to each other. There's more colours in the Cos, but the softest alpaca is a little bit softer than this. If you really want to, like really want one in the fine tweed haze, you can do two things here, because this is a double knit. You can either double this up, because it's a fluffy yarn, it kind of merges together, so it will give you that kind of Aran weight thickness. Or you can take a mohair and strand it with it, that will also bulk it out. So if you have like a favourite double knitting you want to do the hood in, like so some people might want the pure DK from West Yorkshire Spinners, just add a strand of mohair and you're giving it a little bit of bulk so it turns into an Aran weight yarn. So that is what I would kind of recommend you using for the Sophie hood. I will be knitting one myself, or I might get my daughter to do it. But yes, they do look fabulous, and a lot of people are starting to knit these ones up. So yeah, that was all from me today, and yeah, bye for now.